Poppy Playtime is a new indie horror game revolving around Playtime Co. and an ex-employee who comes back to the factory after years. The employees went missing and vengeful toys lie waiting for you in the abandoned toy factory. This game is terrifying and very reminiscent of FNAF and Bendy and the Ink Machine. But what scary theories revolve around Poppy Playtime's upcoming Chapter 2, releasing at some point early 2022? That's what we're exploring today. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is the Top 10 Scary Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 theories. Let's do it. And at 10, next villains. With Huggy Wuggy hopefully meeting his demise in Chapter 1, we have more chapters that will be needing villains. However, who will these villains be? It's possible that these villains will be other toys that we've seen around the facility in Chapter 1, via posters mostly. The pink Huggy, which is actually named Kissy Missy, Brawn the Dinosaur, Boogie Bot, Candy Cat, and Catbee are all possibilities for the next chapters, as well as Poppy herself, who will probably be the final villain if she is one at all. More on that later. But who will be the villain of Chapter 2 specifically? Well, MatPat seems to think that it's going to be Catbee, who was the only other toy featured on more than a poster in this chapter with the exception of Poppy herself, since we end up having to make a Catbee toy to move on in the game, and then that toy seemingly disappeared. However, I have no idea how they plan on making Catbee scary. Like, it's half bee, half cat. How is that supposed to terrifying me as bad as Huggy? Like, Huggy already looks pretty scary since he's just like a monster. He's basically, in essence, like a blue blob, but like a cat and a Catbee. Like, unless I'm allergic, how are you actually supposed to make me scared? I'll be impressed if you do that, Enchanted Mob. I'll be impressed. Although it is also theorized that the machine that we use to create the Catbee toy is also what makes toys into humans, or humans into toys. And at 9, the other door. Now there is something that seemingly nobody in our comments wants to know, but something I myself had a question about ever since I watched Eddie VR play Poppy Playtime on his second channel. This question was, what about the first door that requires 2 hands that we see in Huggy Wuggy's main display room, I guess I should call it. And this is a popular enough question that Terrico actually talked about it on his channel. The quick answer is that you can't go back to this room after getting the red hand apparently, which is unfortunate. However, this leads fans to believe that this door will be involved in Chapter 2. Perhaps it's where the rest of the toys are, since when we left Chapter 1, we were on a catwalk above a who knows how deep hole, so getting back to that room is probably going to take some time. But since we should hopefully still have the grab pack, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that we would end up going back to this room and then unlocking that door. It was blocked by another hand for a reason, since if they didn't plan on actually using it, they wouldn't just put a door there, they would have just made it a wall. So it's most likely that we'll be seeing that room in Chapter 2 or at some point later on, that it leads to the rest of the experiments. And at 8, more grab pack. Speaking of the grab pack, will there be more to its mechanics in the coming chapters rather than just pulling things over and diverting power? There is plenty of fun stuff that they can do with the grab pack, I'm sure, like maybe tripping monsters, or maybe we can like throw objects around instead of just pulling them this time. The grab pack can be such a diverse tool that it can, in theory, do anything, especially since it can literally move power around. Like, because of that, we won't really question what else the grab pack is able to do. Like, oh, it launches nuclear warheads by accidentally picking up too many VHS tapes? Oh well, makes sense. Oh, it can actually create entirely new monsters just by being around the toys for too long while attached to someone? Oh, they're alright, fair enough. Like what? Wait, do we actually think that it's possible for the grab pack to actually be the reason that some of these toys are organic beings? I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, pun absolutely intended, but like I've said, anything the grab pack can do, we just kinda need to accept, right? Huh, well, maybe it's this. And at 7, Poppy's power. Poppy's hair is meant to smell like poppies because, you know, that's her name. However, poppies don't really have all that much of a smell, unless we're talking about the ones made for a certain kind of substance. These opium poppies are used for various illicit substances. However, they're also very good at putting people to sleep. It was even used as a form of treatment when medicine wasn't advanced as it was today. And I mean, honestly, it should still be a treatment. So, could this have been the point behind Poppy's hair? Could this doll's power, I guess, actually be the ability to put things, or I guess other monsters, to sleep? And if this doll was shown to be able to keep kids calm and put them to bed, I guess. I'm sure a load of parents, especially in the 60s, would have been down for that. This had to have been mentioned for a reason. There's no way that they said, oh, her hair smells like poppies, just because. And we know that the company behind Poppy and the others are certainly not the pinnacle of corporate decency. definitely not getting the gold standard for how they treat literally the world. So it is possible that they could have done this and then not really cared about the consequences. And will this ability end up coming in useful? Possibly. And at 6, eradication. The idea that there's something bigger at stake here is something else that's been floating around the internet, thanks to specifically the deathline of "there are more lives at stake than just yours, wake up," which also can allude to dream theory, but haha, I ain't touching that with a 90-foot pole at this point. Actually, that would be hella hard to hold on to. I'm not touching this with anything, okay? The global massacre idea started because, well, I mean, like, come on. What else is going to cause more lives to be at stake here, other than toys actively trying to kill you? Because, like, mass toy genocide? You know what? Straight up, Toy Story. Plus, this only happens if you die and you don't end up getting rid of Huggy Wuggy at the end of the chapter, since, you know, he bashes his head multiple times, and hopefully, I really hope he's dead, okay? He definitely should be dead at this point, if he's an organic being. Plus, like, you know, an 11-foot tall monster who definitely wants to go on a mass killing spree. Yeah, with just one section of the trailer suggesting that it kills for fun and doesn't require sustenance if he is actually Experiment 1006. So yeah, well, like, what's the overall goal here? No idea. But with one chapter out, we can't really get all that much information about it. The only information we have is through a deathline, so. A global massacre, though, would certainly be an interesting way for the series to go. Halfway through into number 5, the experiments. So we know that there are probably at least 6, but upwards of 1,006 experiments involving Playtime Co. and their desire to recreate Poppy, the perfect human toy hybrid. Most people believe that these experiments will be revealed to be the other toys that we learned about in chapter 1, but my question is, where would the other 1,000 experiments be if that is truly the number instead of just 6? Because, you know what, in my opinion, why would you start a numbering system at 1001? My thinking is that it's probably going to be the smaller toys. The small toys in the boxes that the children would actually get would explain the 1,000 additional experiments that we were told about. And it would honestly make sense company-wise, since they advertised Poppy as being the world's first truly intelligent doll. But if that is the case, how would they keep that promise if only that one for the commercial was actually, like, intelligent and part human? It would make sense for that to be the case, but advertising laws could in theory help prevent that. But courts also did say that Apple blatantly lying in one of their ads was fine, since apparently a new iPhone being a third the price and 3 times the speed was too unbelievable for it to be believed realistically, which now is definitely true because Apple cutting costs? Funny. They're gonna come out with 6 adapters. But still, if there are 1,000 other experiments lying around, I wouldn't be surprised if they're the small dolls like the ones we see at the start of chapter 1 in Huggy's room. You know, the ones in the boxes, and then there's the one that you can kick around. Thanks for Terrico for finding that. And at 4, tapes. The various tapes we found over the first chapter helped Mob Studios work in the lore of the story that they wanted to tell. However, with chapter 2 coming, what can we expect from these tapes? Really, it's up in the air since we aren't quite sure where the story is going, but we can assume that now since we've let Poppy out of her case, they will be about her. At least some of them will. The others will probably be about whatever enemy we're facing in this chapter, as well as maybe some more information about the process of turning humans into toys. Or if we are in fact Experiment 1006 instead of Huggy, then maybe we also get more information on that experiment as well, which I guess would be us. But if Huggy was 1006, it would make sense to refer to Experiment 1007 or 1005 in these tapes, which would probably be the enemy we were facing in that chapter. But even on that point, if 1006 is something they'd be trying to replicate, shouldn't there be more than just 6 experiments? Like, I've said this in other videos, but like, after all, they wouldn't stop after they finally got one right. Would they? Like, I wouldn't. That's like, oh, I finally got the settings on my 3D printer working perfectly, let's never print something again. It doesn't make sense. I don't have a 3D printer, but like, I want one. But like, that's kind of my thought process here. If you get it right, you don't just stop. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, Poppy's the villain. The prevailing idea about the game series overall is that Poppy will end up actually being the villain, and it makes sense. Her name is the title of the game, and she could be controlling the toys from inside her case. The fact that her name is on the game is kind of a dead giveaway. I mean, it's not like Freddy Fazbear was helpful in Five Nights at Freddy's, right? Well, this idea is also reinforced by the sheer creep factor we get when releasing her. "You opened my case" is said in such a chilling way that it's hard not to take that line as anything but a threat. She might as well just have put like that simple like smiling emoji, like the one with no cheeks or anything, just that one? Yeah, you know what I mean. And additionally, like, why was she being kept in a sealed glass case anyway? It's also concerning that after running away from a giant toy trying to kill us, we instantly end up releasing yet another toy that is known for being sentient in some form thanks to her being the world's first truly intelligent toy. And I mean, even if you're willing to be turned into a toy, being forced to stay in a glass case for who knows how many years is really going to be a downer. And then, you know, there's the whole we just narrowly escaped from another toy by the skin of our teeth. But yeah, open that case. What can go wrong? Are there no horror movies in these universes? Like, God! Penultimately, in at number 2, we are a toy. This is such an interesting theory that I felt the need to talk about it again. The idea that we ourselves are a toy is so seemingly off the rails that it fits perfectly within this story and just the indie game world in general. If people are being turned into monstrous versions of these toys, and Huggy Wuggy was supposedly experiment 1006, what if we are also an experiment? Starting off the game, we aren't really able to see any of our body, and this continues throughout the chapter. Only being able to grab stuff with the grab pack even at the start of the game, cause we don't grab anything with our actual hands, we never see them. So the thing is, could we be a toy? Are we really human? Come on. Look at this logically. It would make sense if we are a toy, but the game didn't want us to know that yet, so it didn't show us literally us. It could also explain how we're being brought back to life over and over again, and that the one death line of death isn't permanent, since, you know, being a toy combined with a human would most likely not cause you to die permanently. I mean, just look at William Afton, for example. Especially if there is some other entity that's able to resurrect us. Look, I don't know, okay? But being a toy sounds like it could be where this game is going, along with the whole mass global extinction event kind of thing. We have a whole separate video on the subject, and that video also talks about if we are Experiment 1006 instead of Huggy, so feel free to check that out, link is in the iCard. And finally, in at number 1, Poppy the Good Guy. The first chapter of Poppy Playtime ends with us opening Poppy's display case with the lights flickering and her saying, "You opened my case," in an absolutely freaky tone. But it also seems to be almost thankful in a way. This is also something that Matt Pat mentioned in his game theory episode on the subject. This also relates to who Matt believes is behind Poppy, or I guess who Poppy really is, and that's Stella, a woman who is obsessed with trying to live forever and bring joy to her children like her toys did her. And what better way to do that than being turned into a living toy? Well, okay, there's definitely better ways to go about that doesn't involve you becoming a frickin' toy, but hey, it's the indie game world. Plus, if Stella wanted to be a toy, she wouldn't be mad about being turned into one. She'd be delighted, but like, again, she wouldn't be happy about being sealed in a glass case. Or would she? I don't know what she's into. There we have it, friends, the top 10 Scary Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 theories. Are you excited for Chapter 2, and do you have any guesses as to when the release date will be? Be sure you let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.